Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're digging into a stock, HBIO, that's giving off some seriously mixed signals. I mean, is this thing about to take off like a rocket, or is it heading for a major crash? The technicals? Well, they're making a strong case for both. All right, so let's get right into it. The data on HBIO is, well, it's a real puzzle. You've got these powerful bullish signals screaming buy, 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 suggesting this thing has tons of upward momentum. But then, at the exact same time, you've got these major warning signs flashing, kind of hinting that this whole run might get about to hit a wall. So, first things first, let's look at the bright side. What's all the evidence telling us this stock could keep climbing? A great place to kick things off is with its overall technical score. So, the analysis slaps a score of 62.50 on HBIO. Now, on a scale from 0 to 100, that's considered moderately bullish. It's not off the charts amazing, but it definitely tells us that right now, the balance of evidence is leaning more positive than negative. And this is where it gets really interesting. It's not just one thing pointing up. It's a whole bunch of indicators singing the same tune. You've got the RO oscillator, which is basically a trend strength meter, and it's reading high. The price is sitting above all its key moving averages. That's a classic textbook sign of strength. And then there's this thing called the MAMA crossing the FAMA. All you really need to know is that's like the short-term momentum hitting the gas and pulling away from the long-term trend. Traders love to see that. And it's not just about the bigger trend. The immediate short-term momentum looks like it's firing on all cylinders. Indicators that track the speed of the price moves, things like the CCI and ROC, are both flashing these bright green buy signals. Put simply, it looks like there's a huge wave of buying pressure happening right this second. Okay, and the last piece of this whole bullish argument, it comes down to risk versus reward. The analysis crunched the numbers and came up with a ratio of 1.22. What that means is, for every buck you might risk, the potential upside is about $1.22. So yeah, when you stack all of this evidence up, the bull case looks pretty solid. But hold on, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Now we gotta flip the coin and look at the other side of the story, because this is where things start to get really complicated. So the analysis is flagging what are called overbought conditions. And honestly, the best way to picture this is to think of a sprinter. They've been going all out, full speed for a while. Yeah, they're way ahead of the pack, but you can see they're starting to get winded. They're running out of steam. That's kind of what overbought means, a sign of potential exhaustion. And this chart right here just drives that point home. This is the RSI, the Relative Strength Index. It's a super common tool. See that bar on the left? That's HBIO's reading, way up there near 80. Now look at that line. Anything above 70 is officially overbought territory. For traders, that's a huge red flag that the stock might be stretched too thin and is due for a cool down. Okay, but this is the real head scratcher. Look on the left. The current price is actually way below the VWAP. The VWAP is basically the average price that everyone has paid for the stock throughout the day. Now look on the right. While that's happening, the trading volume is just exploding. I mean, up over 1,000%. It's trading at 19 times its normal volume. See the disconnect? So here's the billion-dollar question, right? You have this insane volume, but the price isn't keeping up with the day's average. So what is it? Is this a flood of new buyers piling in, or is it a last-gasp, frantic push before the whole thing rolls over? The data's telling us to be really, really careful here. So, how can both of these things be true at once? How can we have all this bullish momentum and all these exhaustion signals? Well, it all boils down to a few key price levels. You can think of these as the trenches, the battleground, where this all gets decided. All right, so here's the map of that battlefield. The analysis points to these three levels. You've got 87 cents, that's the ceiling, the wall the bulls have to smash through. Then you've got 45 cents down below, that's the floor, what the bears are trying to break. And that number in the middle, the pivot point, that's the 50-yard line. That's where the fight is happening right now. Okay, so given this tug of war, the analysis basically says there are three ways this whole story could play out. You've got the bullish scenario, which is a breakout, the bearish scenario, a breakdown, and the third option, a sideways consolidation. Let's just quickly touch on what each of those would look like. First up, the bullish path. If that powerful momentum we talked about earlier just completely takes over and the price smashes through that 87-cent ceiling, well, the analysis says the road could be wide open for another huge run, maybe even back up toward its yearly high. But on the flip side, if all those warning signs, the overbought signals, that weird volume, if they turn out to be right and the bears manage to shove the price down through that 45-cent floor, that could trigger a really sharp reversal. We could see the stock heading right back down to where it came from. And then there's door number 3, basically a stalemate. Nothing happens. The stock just gets trapped, bouncing between that floor and that ceiling for a while. It's just consolidating, catching its breath after this huge move, and pretty much waiting for one side to finally land a knockout punch. So we've seen the good, the bad, and the maybe. After this whole deep dive, what's the big takeaway? What does it all mean? Look, the bottom line is that HBIO is at a major crossroads. You've got this incredible, powerful momentum on one side, but you've also got some really clear signs of exhaustion on the other. It's created this high-stakes situation where there's huge potential, but also huge risk. Everything, and I mean everything, comes down to that fight between the floor and the ceiling we pointed out. And you gotta know, the risk of a sharp pullback is absolutely on the table. And that really leaves us with the one big question that sums this whole thing up. All that explosive, crazy volume we saw, is that rocket fuel being loaded up for the next launch? Or is it the final brilliant flash before a flameout? The data is arguing for both, and I guess the answer is going to show up in the price action over the next few days.